Hello, Tim here. Welcome to my channel. In today's episode, I'll tell you a little story about some toys that I made years ago. These are moving toys. I call them articulated toys. Articulated toy would be anything that pivots. It would have a pivot point. To start out with, some time ago, I used to work as a costume interpreter at a historic living history museum. It happened to be on this postcard here, and that's me with the drum. And the reason I'm showing you this is I took this theme here at this time period. This is about 1820s, about just after the Napoleonic Wars. That uniform was common in the United States Army. So I took that uniform and made a toy. Now, I was asked to come and demonstrate toy making of that time period. This is one of the toys that was common in the early 19th century. And all it does is like this. And it's a lot of fun if someone hasn't seen this before, because you startle people, but you kind of make some noises or say forward march. So that's what this does. The sergeant wore the red sash, and musicians were always red uniforms at that time period. So that's one of the toys that I've made some 40 years ago. I've had to repair it several times. I call this stuff now folk art because for kids to play with it, there's pinch points on here, and you got to be careful that someone doesn't get hurt. So to make something like this, each individual soldier was turned. Pom-pom up on top here, that was the small dowel stick that was inserted in there. These are like big popsicle sticks. And there's 3 holes, and just create it like this here. These are modern pins with caps. You can get these at hobby stores. Actually, you could make this as big as you want. I have a couple other holes here. I could add more soldiers, but this was enough. It gets quite heavy when it's extended out. So that's just all this does, and it's fun, and it displays well. That's the soldiers. The one that I've had the most fun with over the years is this Acrobat. And this is made out of 2 pieces of cherry, and it's just mortised a pivot here. I pinned it so that this doesn't come apart. And by squeezing this at the bottom, it creates tension up here. The rope is just half twisted over. So when you squeeze it, it causes the rope to want to go straight, or the string to want to go straight. And you can do tricks with this guy. So it's kind of fun. When the kids were really little, I would tell them to blow on this man, and I'd say, you gotta blow harder, and they'd blow, and finally get them go all the way around. So it's kind of entertaining. This is carved out of pine. No, basswood. I believe it's basswood, and I painted it. It's very old toy. I mean, as far as its origins, I don't know exactly historically, but this was made. I'm guessing around 1980 or so. So it's a number of years old. It's over 40 years old, and I tried all different kinds of string. I tried cotton string and different, I don't remember all the different types. This string that's on here has lasted for about 40 years, and I got it from a sailmaker that happened to be next door shop to mine at the time. And it's a little frayed, but it's held up. It's amazingly well, because this has taken a lot of abuse. I've had to rebuild the feet a number of times. That's the Acrobat toy. It's not that complicated to build, and it just use some screws, wood screws, and painting them up. And once in a while, you just got to kind of keep it tight. They tend to work themselves out. This toy is held together with small nails, and this is all it does. I did not make this, but my daughter painted it one time when we were doing a craft demonstration. This is also popular. It got broken a couple of times, and the hammer came off once. And I'm assuming this might be foreign import. I'm not sure. I don't even know where I got it. But this type of whittling here is what they call flat plane. It's like very basic, as opposed to what I do is a little bit more detailed and rounded. This is like a lot of flat planes on here. And I kind of like this style. But that's all this particular thing does. I'm going to finish with this one is a lumberjack. And this is kind of a special story because this was a very popular item that even Civil War soldiers would carry with them. To make the lumberjack work, you need to hold it in one hand, and then this part will be placed under you're sitting down, this would be under your thigh. You bounce it with your hand. So it's a little thin, it's a piece of walnut, but to demonstrate how this works, I'm going to clamp it in this board here, and you can see what I'm doing. So the story of the lumberjack is very similar to the Acrobat, except that lumberjack, the knees are articulated, so they bend, but they also bend backwards too, which is kind of funny. I made this and I gave it to my dad, and he's the one that painted it. And what I find interesting about his color scheme is that he painted it. He used to do cartooning years ago, and when he was in school and college. And these are kind of 1940s vintage colors. You'd see the red nose and the mittens on his hands, and the way his color scheme. So I really like it. I like what he did with it. But he loved to entertain kids, so he'd tell stories and he'd tell poems, and he had other articles of amusement things, instruments that he'd make, and so he just loved to entertain people. The way this works is so you get the idea, and usually you'd play something, tell a story, or you'd have music going on. I suppose you can bounce them like this too, just on a tabletop. Although it's the springiness kind of makes you got that more tap dancing sound. And if it's done well, it really goes well with banjo or guitar or something like that. And a friend of mine does this when he plays banjo, and it's fun to watch him. He's quite an entertainer with it. It's a little different because he's got his tied to a string, and it's tied to his thumb when he plays the banjo, so it's always in rhythm with his banjo playing. So that's it for my my fun toys, and I hope you enjoy these, and maybe some of you remember these kind of things or want to make one. So thanks for watching, and give it a thumbs up if you would, and please subscribe. And we'll do more of this kind of stuff in the future. So see you next time.